This episode is brought to you by iZotope. Our friends over at iZotope create the most thoughtfully and intuitively designed software for audio repair, mixing, and mastering. I use their tools every day for the podcast, and I love it. And I think you will too. Go over to iZotope.com and check it out. That's iZotope.com. IZOTOPE. Use the code FRET10 at checkout for a 10% discount. That's all caps, FRET, and the number 10.
Allow me to live and breathe like a man.
You've heard his words on classic albums like Pacific Ocean Blue and Friends. His 1969 collaboration with Brian Wilson, A World of Peace Must Come, gained almost legendary status as one of pop's most storied lost albums, before being resurrected to great acclaim by Light in the Attic in 2008. Now you're cordially invited to take a trip into the mind of poet and songwriter Stephen J. Kalinich. Heyday Again Records presents I Love My Life, a postcard from one of the last standing poets of peace and excitation. Order your copy today. I Love My Life by Stephen J. Kalinich and Friends. You'll see why heavy hitters like Brian Wilson, Dennis Wilson, Paul McCartney, Steve Cropper, P.F. Sloan, and Diana Ross have all worked with him. I Love My Life by Stephen J. Kalinich. Order today at realgonemusic.com. Again, that's realgonemusic.com. Future Prophet Records presents Gargoyle's new single, Alligator Head. This and other essential singles from the New York Underground, all designed to catapult today's great bands into tomorrow, and all available at futureprophetrecords.com. That's PROPHET, futureprophetrecords.com.
This is the first record I bought.
Ever?
No.
Okay.
This is the first Billy Joel record I bought. And I think the reason I bought it is that it does sound like the first, I can't remember what the first single is. Is it You May Be Right?
It's You May Be Right.
Yeah. But then when it's Still Rock and Roll to Me, which I think is one of the better sonically sounding songs of his early catalog, or mid catalog, I guess at this point. When that came out, I was like, okay, this is very like new wave, very cool sounding. And I don't think I didn't realize that he was making fun of new wave at the time. But that's essentially why I bought this record, is
right.
Well, that song and it was kind of new wave sounding. And it also just has that great line. Like I sing this line to myself sometimes. You may be right, I may be crazy, but it just may be a lunatic you're looking for.
Welcome to Discograffiti, the music obsessives podcast that gives freaks like you and me the chance to connect with the brotherhood obsessed with rating the entire discography of every single artist and band that ever mattered. I'm your host, Dave Gebroe, and with 4 new episodes each week, you're going to gain a comprehensive knowledge of an act's history and output in the time it takes to listen to one album. Each new guest swings a hard left into an area you either had no idea you needed to know about or know all about and can't believe you're not alone out there. And in this episode, we'll be turning our spray cans on Billy Joel! Psst, along with our special guest, UNREST'S Mark Robinson. In this episode, I talk with the epitome of DIY punk spirit, who can also write a pop hook like the best of them, the great Mark Robinson. Of Unrest, Grenadine, Air Miami, Flint Flon, Uncomfortable Police, et al. And together we discuss Billy Joel's entire recorded output. If you're a longtime listener, then you know that I've harbored a longtime hatred of Billy Joel. So why the sudden turnaround in taste, you ask? Discograffiti's Mark Robinson tackles Billy Joel, but Only Metaphorically series dissects every last release Billy Joel's ever had a hand in creating. Part 4 covers the first couple records that Billy made after becoming a superstar, 52nd Street and Glass Houses. Here are just a few of the many things that Mark discusses with Discograffiti in this podcast. the vibe and feel that Billy Joel was shooting for on the first album he made after becoming a superstar, the rock star's wife about whom he wrote Big Shot, the song that Billy referred to as the most bullshit song I ever wrote, a debate over whether the song My Life inspired the sitcom Bosom Buddies or vice versa, the beginning of Billy's struggle to maintain quality across side 2 of his albums, Billy's wild and wacky swerve from jazz to punky new wave, the huge hit whose lyrics he dashed off lightning quick on the car ride to the studio, and an in-depth deep dive on every song off 52nd Street and the first side of Glass Houses. If you're a Mark Robinson and Billy Joel superfan like me, you'll want to turn this free version off right now and opt for the director's cut of this episode on our Patreon page, which is ad-free and features a plethora of additional essential material. And you can find it right there in our Patreon shop for mere pennies at patreon.com/discograffiti/shop. Here's what you're missing this week if you're not a Patreon member. If you're a member at the private tier, you're missing out on our exclusive interview with legendary producer Mark Lynette, not to mention the early release, ad-free, super extended director's cut of the Glass Houses and Nylon Curtain episode of our Billy Joel series. If you're a member at the lieutenant tier, you're missing out on our exclusive Mark Lynette interview. And if you're a member at the major tier, well, you're not missing a single thing, because the major tier gives you access to everything that Discograffiti releases. So don't miss out. Open up your listening app right now and subscribe. And away we go then! All right, October 11th, 1978, Billy Joel's first album as a massive cultural icon, 52nd Street. 52nd Street is Billy Joel's 6th album. It was recorded July and August 1977, and this was a little bit of a twist. What I love about 52nd Street, and what I love about Billy in general, especially up to the early 80s, is that this guy kept searching. You may think he sucks, you may think he's not, your cup of tea, but 52nd Street is not The Stranger Part 2.
Right. Yeah. Totally agree.
And, he chose to add more jazz influences here to give it a distinction. It's not a purely jazz record, but there were also a few jazz musicians that were hired and peppered into the album.
Interesting.
To differentiate it from previous ones. It was the first of 4 records by Billy to peak at number 1 on the Billboard 200. It went 7 times platinum. Mark really wants you to know that it didn't go 7 times platinum immediately. It took time.
Yeah, but The Stranger had already come out, so it probably did go to multiple platinum fairly quickly.
Probably so. I mean, it was certainly a disappointment compared to The Stranger, which went 12 times platinum. This went 7 times platinum. So I'm sure Columbia found a way to wring out their sweat kerchiefs over its performance. But,
right, and with the promotional budget was probably tenfold of The Stranger.
Right.
Because they knew they had a hot artist now.
Yeah. What Billy said in the documentary is, quote, 52nd Street was a very confident album. We went into this kind of New York thing. It was done with a full band and me singing live all in one shot. I wanted that live energy to be translated to a recording. So the title is a reference to obviously literally 52nd Street, which is in Midtown Manhattan, a hip spot for jazz musicians, beginning during the Great Depression and continuing through to the 50s. And Columbia was headquartered within the CBS building on West 52nd. And, the studio where recording took place, A&R Recording, was also on 52nd Street. The studio's freight elevator appears on the album's cover. And of the album's cover, Billy said, I never really know what to do with my hands. So I said, give me the trumpet. And I stood outside with the trumpet trying to look like a jazz guy.
Interesting.
So just a prop. Yeah, it was an instant smash commercially. It was number 1 actually for 8 consecutive weeks. There were 3 top 40 tunes. My Life was number 3, Big Shot was number 14, and Honesty was number 24. It won 2 Grammy Awards, Best Male Pop Vocal Performance and Album of the Year. The latter Grammy was presented to Phil Ramone. When Phil died, the Grammy was actually passed on to Joel from Phil. And, the thing I first think of when I think of 52nd Street is that it's known as the first compact disc.
What? Really?
It's not actually an initial batch of CDs were first released, but it was among the first that was commercially released on that format on October 1st, 1982 in Japan. It was actually one of 50 CDs that were released that day, including The Stranger, but it bore the first catalog number in the sequence, which was 35DP-1. So it's frequently cited to be the first released.
Wait, let me write this down. 35DP-1. Thank you. That's interesting because I remember when CDs came out, it was kind of like, this is made for classical music. You can fit like a symphony on there. It's like 70 minutes. So I just had assumed all of the early CDs were classical. So that's an interesting tidbit.
I mean, I'm guessing that there was an array of different genres chosen. Did you ever have any kind of a love for, obviously you love the cassette. Is there anywhere in your heart for the CD, or do you not care about it?
I like the CD. I don't love the CD. So I did sell the bulk of my CD collection has been sold like 20 years ago or 15 years ago. But I still have tons of them. Like the Teen Beat catalog, the inventory is primarily CDs.
Yeah, I think most of what I own from you, I think it's probably split between CD and cassette. But there's just a more personal nature about the cassette where the CD, even CD mixes, of which I've made many, they don't hold a special place in my heart.
Oh, like a mixed CD. Oh, sure, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, the cassette is the king of, or queen of that.
I knew you were going to correct yourself. You're just that kind of guy. So 52nd Street was voted number 621 in Colin Larkin's all-time top 1,000 albums. I don't know how they get that exact number. And then it was ranked number 354 on Rolling Stone magazine's list of the 500 greatest albums. You know, overall, I think it's got a killer first side. And then, like a lot of Billy's records, it starts to kind of run out of steam on the second side. That's kind of my overall, but it launches with a really, really killer song, Big Shot.
Yes. I feel like the first three are the best songs on the record. So I don't know who was sequencing these things. Was it like Phil Ramone? Was it Bill? Was it a collection? Was it the record company? Was it a collection of all three? Probably, if that's the case. But they kind of really like front loaded this thing for sure.
But coming up, look at some of these other records that feel the same way. Glass Houses, Nylon Curtain, whoever sequenced these records, it was one person because they're sequenced the exact same way.
You mean like the weird rock song is first?
No, Big Shot and You May Be Right are basically the same song. It's like Amy Winehouse's Rehab. It's the same song. And they're both great songs. I mean, I don't typically love when Billy Joel rocks out, but Big Shot is really a great rock song. And what he said in the documentary, quoting him directly, Big Shot was a hangover song. I don't know how many times I woke up in the morning realizing I was an idiot the night before, felt like hell, had a hangover, and you looked in the mirror and you go, you had to be a big shot, didn't you? But the question is, whose hangover? Because Billy said it's partly about me and it's partly about somebody else. And there's all kinds of theories as to who this song was written for, from Elizabeth, who thinks that it's actually about her, his wife at the time, to who it actually turned out to be, which is Bianca Jagger. In an interview with Howard Stern in 2010, Billy said, and I love this idea, it was inspired by the thought of Mick Jagger singing this to Bianca. So he's imitating somebody singing it to somebody else.
Right. Yeah, he has there's a lot of weird fictional narrative songs that he does from time to time.
So Billy told Howard Stern that he found Bianca Jagger to be a total pain in the ass, and he imagined that Mick did too.
Wow.
It's a totally sassy vocal and a really sassy song. And one of my favorite aspects of it, that horn chart, you know, the
Yeah.
It's so tight and punchy, and his vocal is so chock full of piss and vinegar, which you don't usually get with Billy Joel. It's really his, I think, most adept rocking out moment of all time.
And it's so Billy Joel. I mean, I don't know. He's constantly trying to sound or kind of do his take on other people's music, but I feel like that's just quintessentially him. That whole song, really. But the just very weird. I mean, it sounds kind of normal now that we've listened to it a million times, but it's kind of very odd sounding, but great.
You're saying that it's akin to the beginning of Moving Out?
Oh yeah, totally. Yeah.
I mean your fixation on its weirdness.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is probably in my top 10 Billy Joel songs. I think it's pretty much perfect. And it sounds, I don't know if it's completely live, but it sounds like it is.
Yeah. I feel like these records are not sonically great.
Oh, really?
But I mean, I know that they were trying to get like the live sound, but I feel like Phil Ramone's doing his job, but the engineering is not like the top notch. And then maybe they wanted that live sound, which is great. But some of it just does not sound that great.
You're not just talking about this record, you're talking about in general?
Yeah, in general. I mean, except when he gets to Nylon Curtain, then it sounds like they're kind of spending more time on what things sound like.
Maybe too much time.
Perhaps.
So, Honesty. I've always liked Honesty, although, certainly this is a proto-power ballad. Billy said that, quote, "This is the most bullshit song I ever wrote. Who am I to preach to people?" So he thought it was preachy, and just garbage. Do you like this?
I like it a lot. Those 80s power ballads are terrible, and this is good.
True. My favorite part of this song, as much as I love the whole thing, I think it peaks with, "I can find a lover. I can find a friend." That wildly over melodramatic, I should say, bridge. I've always really loved that part of the song.
Yeah, I like it too. I like it all.
Do you have a song like this in you?
I don't know. Have I done a song like that? It's kind of weird if I have not, but I can't think of one.
I mean, it just struck me, apropos of nothing whatsoever, that out of any song that he's ever written, this would probably be the last type of song that you would do, except for a Caucasian reggae song.
Maybe I should add it to my medley. Honesty. I did do God Gave Rock and Roll to You, which you're probably familiar with, since we talked about all my stuff, and that was, I think you said, your first Unrest record.
Yeah.
And that's probably the closest thing I can think of that I perform that's maybe even slightly like that.
Yeah, that could be argued.
Like the sound. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it was written by Ballard. Yeah, it wasn't written by Kiz or Argent.
No, it's art. It wasn't written by Argent. Oh, really? Interesting. Right. I need his name because I need to send him the royalty checks.
Russ Ballard.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Russ Ballard.
Yeah, he's the man. Okay, My Life. And let's talk about the importance of growing up on Bosom Buddies, too. It's been so long since I've seen Bosom Buddies that I forgot that was actually a cover of this song by a guy named Gary Bennett. I've heard this song so many times. I never listen to the words, but it's basically a description of, aimless Americans who go searching for their way in life. It's about people following their path no matter what people tell them they should do. I love that idea for a song somehow wound up dovetailing into dressing up like women to live in an apartment they could afford.
Wait, so somebody was inspired by the song to create the television program with Tom Hanks and Peter Scolari?
Okay, so that I don't know.
Okay, so
that I'm not sure.
Okay.
This, to me, is a classic pop song.
I think that this is the best song on the record. That's what I wrote down.
Really? Okay. Yeah, I can get with that for sure.
I think those first three are just all really solid. And that's, and I remember being a child and hearing all these on the radio.
Yeah. I mean, I can barely think of a catchier pop song that I've ever heard in my life. And also, there's that terrific light psych Beatles-inspired bridge that tops the whole thing off. I mean, it's perfect. And you have, not that this is a plus, but performing on the backing vocals and singing along with Billy during the bridge and in the outro is Peter Cetera and Donnie Dacus from Chicago.
Oh, interesting. So now that he's popular, he can get whoever he wants.
Yeah, but he settled for Peter Cetera.
Oh.
Okay, Zanzibar. Zanzibar, talk to me. This one somehow is important to you.
It's important to me?
Yeah, I saw you with great zeal turning to the mic.
Oh. I mean, it's very, well, you kind of turned me on to this whole thing about how he is inspired by other artists and kind of doing his own version of these artists. And this is Steely Dan.
Right.
It sounds like. I haven't heard these other songs nearly as much as those first three, so I don't know if I realized this at all ever in the past, but this is definitely right up Steely Dan's aisle.
Yeah, yeah. There's sort of a more careful perfection, definitely with the production. Yeah. Phil is digging this one.
And even he's almost channeling Donald Fagen, like his voice. It's almost like he's trying to do an impression.
Yeah. And also that's Freddie Hubbard on trumpet.
And who is that?
He's a great jazz trumpetist. I mean, really important jazz trumpetist. According to Phil, Billy had written the music and had decided he liked the title Zanzibar for the piece, but had no idea what to say about Zanzibar. So Phil actually heard the music, and for Phil, it conjured up images of people watching TV in a bar. And as a result, Billy decided to make the song about a sports bar and activity in a sports bar, kind of like Redolent the Piano Man. And so it's not about the island Zanzibar, it's about a sports bar.
Did sports bars exist in 1978?
That's a good question.
There were certainly bars made for men that had televisions and people would watch the game. But I don't think it was like today where you walk in and there's like 30 televisions with
yeah, probably not.
Just a small asterisk.
It was Phil that actually convinced Billy to experiment with creating a jazz mood on this album based on the fact that there were some jazz riffs written into the end of Zanzibar. So, this is basically the centerpiece of the record. It was always intended as the centerpiece, even though those first three songs, and I agree with you, really are the height of the record. To me, I always felt like this was only a sliver less than the first three. Yeah, so I am in agreement that this is, the jazz centerpiece of the record, with all the surprising chord changes and really, really melodically inventive, probably the most melodically inventive song on the record. And it's kind of sequenced just before the rest of the record squanders that promise pretty frivolously, I think. It's not quite a full-on jazz recording. I'd say it's more accurate to describe it as an intelligently written pop song with jazz flourishes, but there's definitely the spirit of jazz in it. And of course, it appropriates Freddie Hubbard. So I think it would have made a lot more sense to close the record with it, because as it stands, the album winds up falling to pieces, not right after the song, but it starts to. You could hear it take a downturn when you flip it.
So, I think I can see that they're being very ambitious with this song, and that it's kind of like, I don't know, The Stranger or the scenes from the Italian restaurant where, let's elevate this record in some way. But I just don't think it comes together that well. I don't think it's not really one of my favorite Billy Joel songs or anything like that.
Yeah, it's not my favorite. It's actually got the same position as Scenes on the record. That's probably the only thing that's redolent of the last record. But then when you flip it, we're in a different spot. Stiletto is a doom-laden, misogynistic screed, peeled off apparently toward and in the direction of Elizabeth Weber. But she seemed honored that it was directed at her. It struck me that for, such a scabrous put-down, that she seemed kind of proud of it.
I mean, I actually think that this is good. I think I like this one better than Zanzibar.
Okay.
Maybe not lyrically or whatever. And I think it's it almost gets to greatness, but it doesn't quite get there.
Yeah, see, I think it's a solid rock song, but nothing spectacular. Billy said from the doc, now what does that rhythm imply? To me, it kind of implied stabbing. I don't know why. Maybe it was the nature of my relationship at the time, but I came up with these lyrics about being emasculated by a relationship. It's kind of a nasty song.
One good thing about him, and this is, I think, part of why people don't like him, is that he's not trying to create some sort of facade. He's, it's almost like there's no filters or something.
Right.
And maybe that's kind of why people don't like him.
You mean what you see is what you get, whereas with Dylan, it's all about smoke and mirrors and creating obfuscation?
Of I don't know, some artists have Kiss had a persona. They wear makeup. And they're like, I am the demon. And, you're not getting anything from them other than the lyrics.
Yeah, but they're hated. I mean, these days, Kiss really are reviled.
More than Billy Joel?
They did not, yeah, definitely. They didn't age well, especially the misogynistic end of things, like calling Dr. Love and, all the songs about groupies. That stuff. I'm not talking about me because I like Kiss. But, I was surprised when I would put posts in my group about Kiss that there really wasn't a groundswell of love for them.
Yeah, well, I would say because you're doing like Crosby, Stills, and Nash and things like that. And
I'm not just doing.
No, I know you're not just doing that. I know you're not just doing that, but maybe, I don't know, where is your audience exactly? I post about Kiss all the time.
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm just a fan.
Yeah, if you look at my Patreon, it's the Soldiers of Sound. That's modeled directly after the Kiss Army.
Right, yeah, I know.
But anyway, so the next song on the record, I think, is the last great song on the record. I do love Rosalinda's Eyes. It's inspired by Billy's mother. Her full name is Rosalind Nyman Joel. And I like the vibe. I like the lyrical conceit of the song because it was written by Billy as a hypothetical message to Rosalind by his father, Howard, who wound up in the song Vienna. It's a very Latin-inspired song with a pan flute solo serving as a bridge between one of the hooks and the third verse. And it's driven by a prominent Fender Rhodes keyboard riff. Like I said, I think the last great song on the record.
Do you think he got Zamfir to do the pan flute?
It's Zamfir, I believe.
Oh, my apologies. This is my least favorite song on the record, I think.
Wow.
I don't know why.
I really like this one. What do you not like about it?
I just wrote down unlistenable.
Okay. Yeah,
it's hard to remember. It's hard to bring up these Big Shot, obviously, that's like burned into my brain. But this one, I can't bring it up into my head right now. I should have like a separate AirPod on the left that's like playing the music, and then I can hear you on the right. That would be kind of cool.
You know what? Honestly, we don't have to do a super deep dive on this song. I think as good as it is, I don't know if it's deserving of that. But, we're kind of splitting hairs because for me, this is where after this song, the record just sails off a cliff from here forward.
I think we are in agreement about that. I had to I was trying to, buff up on this yesterday, and the next two songs I just had to skip them. Only the next three.
Yeah. I listened to this record a lot in preparation for this. And the main reason is because I could not remember what the songs on the second side were. They're not catchy. Right. They're not memorable. They're really not.
Right. Yes.
Now, Rosalinda's Eyes is definitely my favorite song on the second side. But then we have Half a Mile Away, which I really don't like this. This, to me, it's a flop of an R&B pastiche with limp lyrics. And in my opinion, it's his first shitty song at all, since All You Want to Do Is Dance off Turn.
It's funny when you said that, I was like, what about All You Want to Do Is Dance?
Yeah, no, literally like consecutively from that song forward, not one shitty song. There've been good songs, but the only shitty one since that one.
Yeah.
And I hate this side of Billy. Like the best comparison I could make is Billy Joel is to R&B what the Grateful Dead are to Chuck Berry covers. It's just an across the board no thanks. And also, just one last thing. Unfortunately, An Innocent Man would follow up on the threat of this song 5 years later. And so it was an entire album of soggy white bread bullshit in watered down form, just like this.
That's a spoiler alert because we're going to be talking about that soon.
Yeah, but this is a portent. This is totally a portent of what's around the corner.
I think you could say, his love of the music that, we can get to this when we get to An Innocent Man, but he loves the music that he grew up with. And he's, Say Goodbye to Hollywood is almost like the first song he wrote for An Innocent Man or whatever,
Right.
And maybe this is another one. I don't know. I wrote down that it actually kind of reminded me of like an Elton John song. Like he's trying to do like Philadelphia Freedom, like a kind of cool dance song, but then it just doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't. It really doesn't. It's got an I think it sounds to me a little bit more Earth, Wind and Fire type of thing to it, but Elton does that kind of thing much better, I think.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, the hooks weren't there.
Yeah, it's just, I can't think of what this song, how it goes. I cannot think about how it goes. Right. And I've listened to it so many times to prepare for this because I lost my single ear pod. Until the Night is to the Righteous Brothers what Say Goodbye to Hollywood is to Phil Spector. It's not just in the Righteous Brothers tradition. It is a complete ripoff of Righteous Brothers. Now, obviously, that's what he's going for. He's going to no pains to hide the fact that he's in love with the Righteous Brothers, so much so that he sings parts of the song in a higher voice and other parts in a deeper voice and double tracks them, which produces, obviously, that sound that's entirely reminiscent And in fact, Bill Medley, who, was a friend of the pod and was a great guest on the show, he recorded this song for his 1980 album, Sweet Thunder. So it came full circle, but it goes beyond being a tribute. It's a total ripoff. And it's wildly overlong.
And it also has, going back to Say Goodbye to Hollywood, it has the exact same drum beat.
Right. Not necessarily bad, just it's a painstaking remake, which begs the question, why? And then the title track, which, if you have a title track, it should be more than just, this is just a faceless jazz appropriation.
Yeah, he's getting back to that bluesy thing that I don't like. I don't like the song at all.
Yeah.
I do think it's cool that he puts the title track at the last song on the album. I kind of like that.
It's the least memorable song on the entire record. The record goes out on a whimper. It's even less memorable than Half a Mile Away.
Agreed.
He had yet to master really how to end an album. In fact, it took him his entire career to have a side 2 that was better than a side 1. But on a record that really wasn't that good, it came much later in his career.
Right. Yes, there's definitely some sequencing things he never perfectly sequences anything.
No. And what that comes down to is never really having, or rarely having, enough good songs to stock a record. That is something he's guilty of. Certainly Elton John was guilty of it, but Elton was pumping out a lot of records. Billy was never releasing quite as many as Elton was. I think Elton, I don't know if he signed one of those crazy contracts that was impossible to keep up with, and yet then he did keep up with it. Billy was not doing more than a record a year. Elton was.
Right. Well, if you go back to the 60s, people are doing 3 or 4 records a year.
And everyone was on speed. They were taking pharmaceutical speed. No, really. It turned into Coke in the 70s, but in the 60s, everyone was taking pills that would keep you up for as long as you needed.
Okay. I'm glad that you are knowledgeable about these things, because I'm kind of oblivious to all that.
Oh, hi. I'm Dave Gebroe. I threw my career as a licensed hearing instrument specialist in the trash, sold my house, and moved to the East Coast with my wife and 5-year-old son in order to focus on making the ultimate weekly podcast for music obsessives thrive. But weekly wasn't enough for me, so I bumped it up to 4 shows a week. Becoming a subscriber to Discograffiti's Patreon gives you access to hundreds of exclusive episodes. As a 2-show-per-week private, you get the weekly show by and for our Patreon family, the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound podcast. As a 3-show-a-week lieutenant, you'll get early release, ad-free, extended director's cuts of the main show. They're the shows as they were intended to be heard. Plus, you'll gain access to half the Patreon archive and the upcoming Beach Boys Behind the Mirror companion episodes, which will feature dozens of special guests from within the Beach Boys camp talking about and rating their music. But as a 4-show-per-week major, you'll be drowning in a flood of must-hear binge listening, because I'll be bombarding you with episodes about super cool bands that are too subterranean for free Fridays. It's like going to music college, but with a tuition that makes all kinds of sense. Plus, our entire Patreon archive is yours. Discograffiti's Top 10, our Buried Treasure show, Rock Cousteau, our Slag Off show, Queasy Listening, and the Private Press with Paul Major. And all that for the price of only a cup of coffee a week. Times are tough, you say? Fret not, because there's a $1 tier. Or you could just join as a basic member and buy episodes piecemeal from our Patreon shop. Don't risk feeling badly about yourself by not giving. Check out patreon.com/discograffiti to find the tier that's right for you. Once again, that's patreon.com/discograffiti. This episode is brought to you in part by Bespoke LA. Located in the Fairfax district of Los Angeles, Bespoke LA is the modern podcaster's dream come true. It's got 2 podcast pods available, one with audio only and the other with both audio and video. Just think, you can start your own podcast tomorrow without investing a single penny in equipment. What, you don't have experience editing? Don't even sweat it. For an additional fee, Bespoke LA can edit your podcast. Or not, it's entirely up to you. Rates start at $75 an hour with discounts if you book 4 sessions at once. Go to bespokela.com/podcast. That's BSPOKELA.com/podcast for more information or to book your time today. And be sure to tell them that Dave sent you for a one-time 25% discount. So here's my capsule review for 52nd Street. Jesus Christ, as far as side A, side B disparities go, this one's pretty damn stark. Side 1 is damn near perfect. Not only does it follow up The Stranger without attempting to copy its unrepeatable excellence in the least bit, and beyond that, even manages to effortlessly establish its own harder rocking and jazzier imprimatur. But unfortunately, by side 2, we're on wobblier territory. It's like the end of Spielberg's first movie, Duel, where the truck shoots screaming off the cliff. Billy just can't keep his boner up all the way through. He gives it a good hard go, and there are gems back there for sure. But that second side stinks compared to the strength with which he blows through the gate. Heavy points for taking a different direction and establishing a whole new identity while keeping his songwriting integrity intact after many millions of records sold. Still a great one, just flawed. I'll give it 4 1/3 stars.
4 1/3. Wow.
The strong material is really good, I think.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, it's funny because when I think it was before I really delved deep into this, it was like a 4 something. And then I was like, I got to listen to this more. And then the score kept going down and down and down. Because I was like, oh, I always thought this was a classic album in my head. But, had I actually listened to it that many times. I also wanted to say there's a band on Factory Records, the English indie label from the 80s and 90s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, called 52nd Street, obviously named after the jazz stuff. But anyway, who knows? Maybe they were big Billy Joel fans. Maybe they loved Half a Mile Away and they got inspired. So I think those first 3 songs are great. Zanzibar is okay. Stiletto is listenable. The rest is terrible. And I give it a 2.5. Wow. You know what it is for me? When I come away from this record, somehow the magic trick of this record is I feel like it's better than it is. So to me, that's worth something. And I don't know why. I can't tell you why. But that is worth something. Whereas some records, I think it's terrible and it's better than I think it is. But this one, I always think is just great all the way through. And it's really not. Right, exactly. Yeah.
And then because of piano-driven ballads like Just the Way You Are, She's Always a Woman, and Honesty, Billy was kind of labeled a soft rocker and a balladeer, and he thought that was kind of unfair. And when he was in a really shitty mood or he was drunk, he thought it was insulting. And so around this time, Billy tried to record an album that proved that he could rock harder than his critics gave him credit for. Cue a young Marky who shows up at, Sam Goody?
That would be New Jersey. I didn't really start buying records until I was in the DC, Virginia area. And that was a whole nother different, it was Best Department Store was my record store. So it was like a Sears. It was like a different kind of Sears that had a record store area.
You mentioned it on one of the earlier episodes on Billy.
Yeah, I think I did.
So Glass Houses came out on March 12th, 1980. Glass Houses is the 7th album by Billy, and it was, a big commercial success. It topped the Billboard 200 for 6 consecutive weeks. Unfortunately, not 8 weeks like 52nd Street, so I'm sure the record company was wringing out their hankies. But it did feature Billy's first single to peak at number 1, which is amazing to think that it took until 1980. But it's still rock and roll to me. It was his first number 1 song. And the record is the 41st best-selling album of the 80s. It sold 7.1 million copies in the U.S. alone. In 1981, Billy won a Grammy for Best Male Rock Vocal Performance for his work on the record. And, certainly the record's got a harder edge sound. And it's, commonly referred to as his response to the punk and new wave movements, which kind of, at that point, punk was basically done. So if it was his response to punk, it was way too late. But certainly it was at least a response to new wave.
It was way too late to be a response to punk in England, but punk was never a huge thing in the United States. And so the punk that we heard in DC, it was just starting at that time, really.
It's always interesting when, one of these dinosaur acts has their response to punk. He's not the only one.
Yeah.
But yet
right.
it arrives like, in 1996.
Yes, sure.
So this was also the final studio album to feature the original incarnation of the Billy Joel Band, because Richie Cannata left the band just before the Nylon Curtain. So It was only him who left. But yeah, so this is 7 times platinum, just like 52nd Street.
When you say the original band, you're talking about the Turnstiles Band.
Right.
Right? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Who was also, previously known as Topper.
Right.
For the most part. So in the documentary, here's Billy on Glass Houses. Quote, I was throwing a rock at my own image, which was balladeer, singer-songwriter. And I thought, we're going to try something different here. I love how that sounds like dangerous words. This is the third album with Phil Ramone. It opens with the sound of glass shattering. And not only that, but there's this weird motif of sound effects that kind of pepper the record. There's glass smashing, there's phone dialing, and there's
I love that.
The TV national anthem.
Oh, yeah. You can't get any better than the phone sounds on records. It always works.
Yeah. It's definitely harder rocking, more prominent guitars, more pounding drums, also, heavy featuring of synthesizers and keyboards like the Yamaha CP80, which would become very prominent throughout the rest of the decade. And then, of course, the back cover, which has Billy looking through a hole that the rock made in the glass. It's a great package.
It is. And it has an interesting, I don't think I've looked at it recently, and I should have, but it has an interesting finish on the printing. The printed jacket has an unusual jacket. It's not high gloss, and I don't think it's a straight matte finish. It's has a tactile finish on there.
Like a braille type of a thing where it's dotted?
I mean, it's not braille, but yeah, it's like has a little something to it.
Well, dots.
I don't know if it's dots, but yeah, I'm gonna have to go pull it out now. This is the first record I bought.
Ever?
No.
Okay.
This is the first Billy Joel record I bought. And I think the reason I bought it is that it does sound like the first, I can't remember what the first single is. Is it You May Be Right?
It's You May Be Right.
Yeah. But then when It's Still Rock and Roll to Me, which I think is one of the better sonically sounding songs of his early catalog, or mid catalog, I guess at this point. When that came out, I was like, okay, this is very like new wave, very cool sounding. And I don't think I didn't realize that he was making fun of new wave at the time. But that's essentially why I bought this record. Well, that song and it was kind of new wave sounding.
So You May Be Right, first track off the album and the first single, begins with Broken Glass, which is like kind of a mission statement for the record. And, here's Billy from the documentary. One night, it was 4:00 in the morning. I was coming back from a bar. It was raining out. I was on a bike. I had no headlight. There were no street lights. I was wearing a suit and it was raining. And I got into the house and I made it home in one piece. I should have been splattered all over the road. And my wife looked at me and she said, "You're out of your mind. You're crazy. I don't believe you're alive." And I said, "Well, I made it, didn't I? I'm here in one piece." And she said, "Yeah, but that only proves you're crazy because only a crazy man would have made it home." So this single from the record was basically the grounds for his impending divorce and his next divorce and his divorce after that. But it's a celebration of that mind state of I'm going to do whatever I want to do, even though it's going to make me so fucking miserable that by the time I get to wife number 4, I'm going to unconsciously do penance for what I've done to my previous 3 wives by cooking all day for a faceless, nameless person that I'm just going to reverse the karmic wheel. I mean, I'm convinced that is exactly what happened, and it kind of started with You May Be Right. It's Amy Winehouse's Rehab 25 years early. It's prophetic, more prophetic really than any song he's ever written.
And it also just has that great line. Like I sing this line to myself sometimes. You may be right, I may be crazy, but it just may be a lunatic you're looking for. I think it's a little too slow for some reason. I don't know if it was like in my head, it was faster and tighter, and then still has that sonic recording problem. But it's a great, very good Billy Joel song.
I think you're totally 100% right, because I love You May Be Right. It's a great song. But when I hear it, I always think like there's an element missing where it doesn't kick as hard as Big Shot. And I think it is the tempo. There's a muted quality to it where I feel like if it was like as glass smashing as the sound itself, that it really would have been like a punk song. It would have been like unstoppable.
Yeah, and I feel like he's trying to, I don't know, it's the rock song being first. Like I feel like he should have gotten off of that. Like it's still rock and roll to me. Like why is that not the first song? Or there's like I think any of these, almost any song on here could be the first song and might have been a better choice.
Yeah, it's still rock and roll to me would probably have been the best first song, but there's no question that you are 100% right. And if this song was redone, because I mean, when you think about the idea of, Billy Joel hasn't earned the right to rock out. He's not a real rocker. Well, guess what? This guy lived it to the extent that he did eventually get into a serious motorcycle accident, probably while he was inebriated, and he lost 3 wives, including a supermodel, because this behavior was more important to him than those women. So he lived it in a way that any douchebag punk would have stopped short of a long time ago.
Do we have to disparage punk rockers?
No, I'm just saying, if you have to wear it like punk does, like as a style, then in all likelihood, you're not really living it because it's a fashion. For Billy, it wasn't a fashion. He was a suicidal alcoholic.
Sure. Yeah.
I'm not putting down punks. Yeah. But it was like, this is like actually a personality disorder. Sometimes a fantasy. This is a great song I did not know about before doing research for this.
Wow.
Yeah, I didn't know this record.
Right. Yeah, this is the one I know the best. So.
Oh, nice.
This is the only one I bought. So this is the one I know.
So it's about a sexually frustrated dude who tries to convince his girlfriend to have phone sex. And it's a terrific hiccupy vocal, like a cross between mid-50s proto-Elvis Sun Session style rocker and kind of knack-leaning new wave. It's really, really good. And then there was a single of this that was longer than the album version by about 40 seconds.
Interesting. That's unusual to have the single longer than the album version.
Right. Times definitely were changing. And on that longer mix, there's guitars panned in different locations. And then the album, which ends on a fade out, the difference is the single does not, and instead has Billy yelling, "I got blisters on my blisters."
Oh, wow. That's
which
cool.
Which is obviously a Ringo Starr reference.
He's never gotten the, like most of these artists that are this popular have gotten this kind of like remastered extra track releases of all their records. And it doesn't seem like that's happened with him. Like, shouldn't that should be on the deluxe edition or something?
Do you think though that there isn't any extra stuff?
Well, there might not be, but if there's stuff like that, that's an interesting thing to include. It doesn't have to be a lot of stuff.
All I know is all his great albums, except for The Stranger, include songs that could very well have been outtakes.
Well, sure. I mean, that goes for a lot of artists for the most part.
So maybe he used everything. I mean...
it seems like he did. I mean, unless, you did all the research, so I'm guessing, he only recorded 9 songs for each record or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I discovered a couple other songs, like Elvis Presley Boulevard, which is a B-side from Nylon Curtain. That was an outtake from Nylon Curtain. But other than that, I can't tell you a single other song that was like an outtake or, was used as a B-side. Maybe there are. But anyway... I think the best song on this record, and the song that I kind of forgot, and the song that doesn't fit on this record is Don't Ask Me Why. I love Don't Ask Me Why. This could have been on The Stranger.
Yeah. I think, well, sometimes the fantasy also, I just want to say, is also, if I didn't already agree with you, is a hit. There's no pastiche. It's just like total Billy Joel there.
Yeah.
Don't Ask Me Why. Yeah, it could have been. It is that very Stranger-esque, almost dated probably at that point.
Right. It seems interesting that he put what was clearly a hit. I mean, this could not have missed. It's all acoustic. There's all kinds of Latin percussion work on it, and it's done in a sort of Afro-Cuban rhythmic style with a almost Latin ballroom type piano solo in it. But it had to have been clear from the outset that this was like a guaranteed smash. Also, just as a note, Billy says that the mix for the midsection includes 15 pianos overdubbed on top of each other.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
They must have hooked up a couple machines together so they could get like 48 tracks instead of 24 or something.
How do you feel about this being on this record? Because this is certainly not a glass smasher.
I mean, I feel like this record is not, it's not all like, it's still rock and roll to me. It's very, it's varied, you know, there's different stuff. Yeah, there is like some new wave bent to some of the songs, but I feel like it's kind of just like all over the place, which I kind of like.
Yeah.
Like Queen records. I don't know if you've done any podcasts about Queen, but they are kind of like my inspiration for how records should be made. Like
Wow.
News of the World. Every single song sounds completely different than the other songs.
Yeah, I mean, I think Queen are one of the most wildly overrated bands. I think they're purely a singles band. I think they have great singles.
No,
I don't think they have
this
a
is
single
so wrong.
Single
this
great
is
album.
completely wrong. They're an album band. They're an album band.
No way. The closest. I mean, we should definitely. You and I should do a podcast on them because I could not disagree
underrated
more.
Album band.
No way. No. I mean, Sheer Heart Attack is the closest they came to a great record, and it's not great from beginning to end. I mean, Night at the Opera.
No, News of the World is great from beginning to the end. Yeah.
No, there's, I mean, not a single great record.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane. I have
It
to
is.
leave. I think we have to turn off my computer right now and say goodbye to you.
I don't understand the world's fascination with them, except for, you know, the song Bohemian Rhapsody. I get why that makes them a great band. I love Killer Queen. You know, they've got great singles. Anyway, we're going to get into a fist fight if we don't move on. So it's still rock and roll to me.
We Will Rock You was the B-side.
I love that there was an entirely different arrangement of that song that had all the instruments in it. So it's still rock and roll to me. The record was pretty much finished. And then Billy came up with that song. He wrote the lyrics in the car on the way into the studio, as he says in the documentary. And it's kind of the thesis of the whole record. All right, that about does it. Stay tuned, because next week brings upon us the Glass Houses and Nylon Curtain episode of our Billy Joel series. Okay, here's the week up ahead. This Sunday, our weekly show within a show, the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound podcast, drops for our Patreon's private tier. These are real people with talent and a burning fire deep inside, just like you and I. Then come Monday, the major tier gets a very special treat. Monday's bonus episode is another Chuck chat from the Chuck Granada Pet Sounds interview series, this one with legendary producer Mark Lynette. Mark Lynette's the producer and audio engineer best known for his remixing and remastering of the Beach Boys catalog. Since 1988, he's been the engineer of choice for Brian Wilson's recordings. In 1996, Lynette created the first true stereo mix of Pet Sounds. He's also co-produced nearly all of the band's archival releases, including 1997's The Pet Sounds Sessions, 1998's Endless Harmony soundtrack, 2003's Hawthorne, California, and 2011's The Smile Sessions, as well as the Feel Flows and Sail on Sailor box sets. In addition to earning 3 Grammys, he was nominated for Best Engineered Album for his work on 2004's Brian Wilson Presents Smile. He's also worked with Jane's Addiction, Los Lobos, Ricky Lee Jones, and Randy Newman. Discograffiti is proud to present Chuck's lengthy and consistently fascinating interview with Mark from the early 2000s for his Pet Sounds book. Stay tuned for my own more recent interview, which covers completely different territory. And then on Wednesday, the Lieutenant tier gets their early release, ad-free, super extended director's cut of the Glass Houses and Nylon Curtain episode of our Billy Joel deep dive with UNREST'S Mark Robinson. It's the episode as it was truly intended to be heard, with all the essentials left intact. And then come Friday, everyone else gets to join in on the action. A heartfelt Discograffiti thanks goes out to my beautiful wife and son, Jen and Mason, Mark Robinson, Billy Joel, Rudy Fishman, Becky Boyd, Bespoke LA, my mom, my dad, my incredibly loyal fans, and especially the entire Patreon community, the Soldiers of Sound. I love every last one of you, and this show would not exist without you, my friends. Speaking of friends, it's high time for some new ones. They're in our Facebook group, Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound. That's the best way to find out what's coming up on the show, but there's a hell of a lot more. You get recaps of the day in music history, the ability to pitch questions to guests, polls that put you in the driver's seat on guest and band decisions, access to a thriving creative hub if you're looking for a collaborator, and much, much more. So make sure you don't miss out. You can find the link to the Discograffiti Soldiers of Sound Facebook page right there in the show notes. And if you don't mess with the Zuck, no sweat. Just email me at info@discograffiti.com and I'll keep you in the loop. So now that it's done and you want more, another way to dive even deeper into that liminal zone right smack dab in between Mark Robinson and Billy Joel is to leap head first into Dean Wareham Rates Galaxy 500. That's episodes 205 to 207. Sonic Boom rates Spacemen 3, that's 183 to 186. Bill Medley rates The Righteous Brothers, that's 181 and 182. Jenny Toomey and Kristen Thompson rate Tsunami, that's episode 180. Michael Imperioli rates The Smiths, that's 164 and 165. The Pixies, that's episode 18. Nirvana's episode 30. PJ Harvey's episode 12. Bob Mayer rates The Replacements as 28 and 29. And of course, the legendary Mark Robinson series is our 16-hour interview with the man about his entire discography, and that's episodes 128 to 136. And of course, be sure to mark your calendars, because next Friday, December 12th, we're coming at you with the Glass Houses and Nylon Curtain episode of our Mark Robinson Tackles Billy Joel, but not literally deep dive. Trust me, you're not going to want to miss it. And so, from now till then, don't let our youth go to waste, lads and ladies. It's Discograffiti!